I'm Rosenberg, the CEO and Chief Scientist of Unanimous AI, and today I'm going to talk about swarm intelligence using AI to unlock the wisdom of large human groups. A few quick words about Unanimous AI. Unlike other companies that use AI to replace people, we use AI to connect teams together and optimize group intelligence, enabling smarter decisions, more accurate insights, and deeper collaborations. And we do this by enabling real-time conversations at large scale. And by large scale, I mean big groups in real-time conversations, 50 people, 250 people, potentially even 2,500 people. So a quick outline of what I'll be talking about today. First, I'm going to talk about the power of conversation, talk about why conversational deliberation is the best way to harness group intelligence, and to talk about a problem, which is that conversations, the way we normally have them, do not scale to large groups. Then I'll talk about a new technology called Hyperchat AI that enables conversations at large scale, real-time text, voice, or video conversations. And I'll talk about some studies that show that this technology makes groups smarter, faster, and more collaborative. Then I'll talk about a new platform called ThinkScape from Unanimous AI that enables large conversations up to 250 people in real time by text, voice, or video. And then I'll talk about a session that we did last month for Internet Library Connect, where we had a group deliberation by bringing together a number of participants. And we asked the question, what are the biggest challenges that libraries face? And so I'll review how we did that and show you the results that came out when we had a group of people deliberate together in real time. So all of that said, the power of conversation. Group deliberation is the most effective method for harnessing and amplifying the intelligence of teams. And that's because real-time conversations enables teams to combine their knowledge, wisdom, insights, and intuition together to evaluate problems, to brainstorm ideas, building on the ideas of each other, to surface risks, debating whether those risks are important, debating other options, and ultimately converge conversationally on optimal solutions. But there's a problem. The problem is that conversations only work for small teams. Research shows that the ideal size for a conversation is really only 4 to 7 people. At that size, each person gets a good amount of airtime to speak, a small amount of wait time to respond to others. But as group size grows, airtime drops, wait time increases. And when you get to above 8 to 10 people, it's just a series of speeches. And above 15 people, it's really just chaos. It's not a conversation at all. So what do you do if you have a large team or group, like a large organization? Could be a nonprofit, could be a corporation, could be civic. Large organizations easily have research teams with hundreds of members, product teams with hundreds of members, sales teams with hundreds of members, support teams with hundreds of members. Large teams exist, large groups exist all over the place, and yet today's teams can't have productive conversations with more than 8 to 10 people, and that's crazy. And we solved this with this new technology called Hyperchat AI. And it's a breakthrough because it enables real-time conversations among network teams at unlimited scale. We can enable large groups, hundreds of people, to brainstorm together, debate alternatives, prioritize options, surface risks, forecast outcomes together, coordinate plans, align objectives, and ultimately solve problems. And what we found when testing Hyperchat AI is that in addition to enabling these large-scale conversations, it actually amplifies team intelligence, leveraging the wisdom of these large groups in unprecedented ways. It also speeds deliberation, enabling large groups to find solutions faster than they've ever done before. And teams like it. When we bring groups together this way, we hear that they feel more collaborative, they feel more aligned, and they feel more buy-in. So how does it work? How do we enable thoughtful real-time conversations at large scale? I've got 100 people here. Let's say I want them to have a real-time conversation, to brainstorm, debate, surface risks, and solve a problem. I cannot do that by bringing them into Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So how can we do it? Well, we solve this with a patented and proven use of AI agents that's really interesting. I know a lot of people talk about AI agents, and it's always really unclear how it helps people. This is a really interesting use where we're not replacing people, we're connecting people. And so the first thing that we do is we say, okay, we have these 100 people, let's break them up into small groups that are well-sized for thoughtful conversation. So 4 or 5 people is a great size group. So let's take 100 people, break them up into 20 groups of 5. Great. We can do this. This doesn't solve the problem. This just creates 20 parallel conversations. And so what we do is we use this innovative AI agent we called a conversational surrogate agent, and we put one into each of these little subgroups. And this AI agent has a very special job. So inside of each of these groups, it's going to observe the conversation of the 4 or 5 people who are debating an issue. As this group talks, it's going to watch what are the different ideas that come up, what are the different reasons that support the ideas, what are the counterpoints that oppose the idea. It's breaking down that little conversation, it's extracting key insights, and then it's passing those insights onto the agents in other rooms. And when those other agents receive an insight, it expresses it conversationally as part of that local conversation. And so if I'm in a group of 4 or 5 people, we're having a conversation, there's an AI that's there with us. That AI is not making stuff up. It's not grabbing stuff off the internet. It's receiving insights from other human groups and expressing them as part of our conversation, bringing up ideas, bringing up counterpoints, making us consider things that we might not have considered. And again, this is human intelligence passing all around the network, weaving all of these conversations together into a single global conversation. And that's what we call Hyperchat AI technology. And it enables thoughtful and productive real-time conversations at large scale. And when we test Hyperchat AI technology rigorously, we find that it actually optimizes collaboration and amplifies team intelligence. And the reason for that is that Hyperchat AI intelligently shares content. It doesn't just randomly pass content between the groups. It intelligently shares the content to maximize the mixing of ideas and opinions and reasoning. And so if we're talking about an issue and we're trying to solve a problem, if there's another group coming up with the same solution, no reason to pass that to us. If another group has come up with a counterpoint that disputes what we're talking about, that could get passed in and get expressed into our conversation by the AI agent, and now our conversation is benefiting from this other group or from any other group. Or if another group has a different idea that's totally unique, it will expose that to our group, and so now maybe we see a counterpoint, or maybe we build off of that idea, and information goes back and goes around. And what we find is that when we do this, we have these 100 people, and together they're reaching smarter outcomes, they're having faster deliberations, and because the AI agents are extracting all this information in real time, we have really good knowledge capture. We know, okay, here's these 100 people decomposing this problem. We know exactly all of the ideas that came up, all of the reasons, all the counterpoints. And so a lot of the users actually find it's not just good at solving problems, it's good at understanding an organization and all of their ideas and reasons and thoughts and processes. So we took this Hyperchat AI technology and we built it into a platform called ThinkScape. It's a cloud-based platform. All you need is a browser, and it enables real-time conversations of groups up to 250 people. The current version of ThinkScape is text-based or voice-to-text, and in Q4 we're launching a video version where we can have video conferencing of hundreds of people all connected together in a single conversation. And we've worked closely with lots of universities to publish studies to understand, does this work? Does this make groups smarter? Do groups like it? I'll just mention a few. We did a number of studies last year with Carnegie Mellon that were really successful. They showed that we make teams smarter, significantly smarter. We make teams faster, and that teams prefer it. And let me just dig into some of these papers a little bit. So let's talk about collaboration. ThinkScape optimizes collaboration. So we did a brainstorming study when we said, okay, let's bring together groups of people. These were groups of 75 people, and we had them brainstorm using a kind of a standard brainstorming test called an alternative use task. Had them take the standard test in ThinkScape, broken up into small subgroups, AI agents passing information around, or have them brainstorm as a single large group in Slack or Microsoft Teams. And what we found was overwhelmingly, when these same groups, the groups tried it both ways, when they worked together using this Hyperchat technology, they felt more productive, they felt more heard, they felt more collaborative. They said that it surfaced better answers when they brainstormed this way. They said they felt more buy-in, they felt more ownership, and they preferred it overall. And again, this is a published study. You can find it online or find it at our website at unanimous.ai. And then we looked at, well, what about intelligence? Can we show that this makes groups smarter? And so we used actually a standard IQ test. We brought together groups of 35 people. Again, this is with Carnegie Mellon University, and we had them take what's called a Ravens Matrix IQ test, a standard IQ test. They came together in ThinkScape, and we looked at, okay, what's the average individual score on these IQ tests? Then we also looked at the wisdom of crowd, which is just, let's take the most popular answer across 35 people. There should be some intelligence amplification. And then we looked at ThinkScape, where they're connected together in this Hyperchat structure. So the average individual in this test had an IQ of 100, which is how IQ tests are designed. Average person should have a 100 IQ, and that's the 50th percentile. Wisdom of crowd, when we took the most popular answer, this did amplify intelligence, got the group up to that 115 IQ, the 81st percentile, but really couldn't get higher than that. And that's because by definition, as the questions get harder, fewer and fewer people can see a solution or see an angle, or we connect them together into this Hyperchat structure, connected together by AI agents, and giving the same amount of time, they're able to solve the problems and score average IQ of 128, the 97th percentile. And what was most interesting is that when they did it together in Hyperchat AI using ThinkScape, the groups of 35 consistently outperformed every member of their group. They didn't just outperform the average member; they outperformed every member. And again, this is a published study. You can find it on our website or online, and again with Carnegie Mellon University. And so we built this ThinkScape platform. We just launched it a little less than a year ago, late last year, November last year. Already great users. We see big brands using it, Best Buy, Intuit, Chick-fil-A, Roblox, big organizations, the U.S. Department of Energy, the U.S. Air Force, the World Bank, and also in academia, the California Faculty Association has used ThinkScape to bring together large groups of faculty to talk about changes in universities. There's two universities merging. They wanted to bring together large anonymous groups from both universities to surface the problems and the fears and the concerns. And so that is where we are in the process. But I want to show you what ThinkScape looks like, and then I'll show you how we used ThinkScape with a group of library professionals so that we could ask some questions about the biggest risks and challenges facing libraries in the next year and beyond. Okay, so this is ThinkScape. It's a web-based platform. Groups of people can log in from anywhere in the world, up to 250 people for a single conversation. This is the text version of ThinkScape. All you need is an invite link and a standard browser. You come in and you enter a world that looks like this. You can see that there's, in this case, this is a screenshot. There's 110 participants who've logged in. we have something that we call conversation visualizers. So they can see that these 110 people they've been split into 22 different think tanks, and they each know which think tank they've been put into, but they can see the big picture, so they have the mental model that it's not just their 4 or 5 people. There's 110 people here. There's a chat area where people can chat. There's a microphone you can do voice to text if you don't want to type. A media area where we can share images, videos, websites, spreadsheets, whatever. And then importantly, there's a question area where we can ask a question to all 110 people and have them engage in the same conversation at the same time. And so in this case, here's a question just showed up. What's the biggest concern about building nuclear power plants in the United States, and why? And this was a question that we asked these 110 people for the Department of Energy, because they were gathering insights. And so then the discussion starts, and everybody, no matter which think tank they're in, they see the question, they're given some guidance. In this case, the guidance says, be sure to support your views with reasons. And if you agree or disagree with others, express that and tell them why. And again, we're inviting everybody to have a conversation, really to have a debate. We're saying we want this to, if you disagree with somebody, tell them this isn't just about people, everybody just giving their thoughts and being silent. And really, each question, people are going to deliberate for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how long we have them deliberate for. In this case, there's a timer, and it's a 6-minute deliberation. And so the person who's the team leader or the moderator asks the question and says, okay, let's go. And then now you have 110 people deliberating. And this is actually the global view. Nobody would watch the discussion this way, because there's a lot of stuff happening with 110 people. In fact, this is the moderator view, but I'm showing this so that you can see that as this group of 110 people deliberates, the AI agents are passing information between the groups, spreading content, linking all the conversations together. And as the conversation is happening, this group is brainstorming ideas for the biggest concerns about building nuclear power plants, and each of those ideas is being extracted and being assessed about the level of support that's being seen across all these 22 different groups. But to really better understand what's happening, we can jump into one of these think tanks, and we can just do it by clicking on it, and then we end up, now we're in think tank 11, and now there's this slow, thoughtful conversation that's happening among 4 or 5 people, plus an AI who's participating. The AI, again, is not making stuff up. It's not bringing stuff off the internet. It's expressing ideas that surfaced in other think tanks, and those ideas have been chosen for this think tank because it is bringing something new into the conversation. And so in this case, I'm just zooming in on this because it's small. The ThinkBot is part of this conversation, says, well, what about the financial risks and cost overruns of building nuclear power plants? And so that's an idea that this group, Think Tank 11, hadn't brought up. In addition, it says source, Think Tank 4. It's telling the group, hey, I'm an AI, but I didn't make this up. This is an insight that came from Think Tank 4. This is from other humans who are in this conversation. And that's happening simultaneously in all the groups as this conversation is unfolding. If you're the moderator, you can actually click on this button here to get real-time insights. And I'm just doing that so you can just see from the bird's eye view, you can actually see that there's this whole conversation's happening among 110 people. The system is tracking all the ideas that came up and their relative sentiment. It's also listing all the ideas, looking at how much engagement it is, by engagement of how many different think tanks did this same idea get support in. It's also showing key verbatims. If a moderator just wants to get a sense of like this 110 person conversation, they could watch and just see these are key statements that are coming out. And again, they can see this visualizer. I'm showing this mostly because if you're the team leader or moderator and you ask this question to 100 or 200 people, you can really get a good sense of what's happening, and that's helpful because you're probably going to ask a follow-up question as soon as these 6 minutes are over. And then when the 6 minutes are over, because this entire conversation is being tracked in real time, an answer instantly comes up. Instantly, and this is kind of the high-level answer. It says, whoa, toxic waste. And it says our collective reasoning, our collective perspective is that the biggest concern about building nuclear power plants in the United States is toxic waste. We consider the dangers of radioactive waste, its long-lasting environmental and health effects, and the challenges of safe storage and disposal. While some argue that the waste is well contained and that nuclear energy is more sustainable, the majority felt the long-term risk outweighed these points. And so again, this is the collective perspective of 110 people gathered in just 6 minutes. And then this was one of many questions, follow-up questions came. But what I will point out is that when this session is over, the people who ask the question, whether it's the participants or the team leader or the moderator, they can actually click on the Insights page, called this Inside Studio, and you can actually really dig much deeper beyond that high-level summary. And so if I click on overview, you can see, okay, here's the overview, here's the top answer, here's the summary of the reasoning, but then here's all the other answers that were surfaced. It was toxic waste, meltdowns, adherence to laws, cost, and so you can dig in and see these are all of the reasons that came up in this 110-person conversation and their relative level of support that it got. We can also jump into what's called the Deliberation Explorer. And so here we can see, here are all the ideas that were brainstormed. There were 18 different core ideas that came up. And if I click on, say, toxic waste, it will then give me, here are all the reasons that were expressed in favor of toxic waste being the biggest the biggest concern. And then here are all the reasons expressed against toxic waste being the biggest concern. And so if you're the person who is capturing this information from this big group of 100 or 200 or 500 people, now you can see in this taxonomy, here's the idea that came up, here's all the reasons in favor, all the reasons against. And if I click on one of these reasons, let's say storage location issues, if I click on that, now I can jump in and it can show me here all the actual verbatims, the actual comments made by individuals about why it was the health risks from radiation. Why the health risks from radiation are make toxic waste the biggest concern. Or I can click on some other brainstormed idea, cost. Click on cost. And now I instantly can see here are the reasons in favor saying that cost is the biggest issue, all the reasons against cost being the biggest issue, and then all the specific verbatims in favor or against. And so anybody can go in and look, why did they say that? And then look down at the details. So it's fully auditable. You can fully understand, how this group reached this decision and how they viewed every single idea that came up and what all of the reasons and counter reasons were. I can also go to this analysis page where I can see all kinds of information. In this case, it's showing percent of conversation, and I can see, percent of conversation, toxic waste took up 24% of the conversation across all these 22 different groups. Some of the issues like cost took up a lot of the conversation, but didn't surface to the top as one of the top three answers. There's a lot of different ways you can look at the data. Here's what we call dynamic preferences. Actually, you can show how people switch their opinions during this deliberation, which is interesting because that's the whole point of a deliberation, is that people are expressing their views, hearing counterpoints, and their ideas are evolving as they deliberate, and the group actually finds the answer that really reflects their collective intelligence. If we had demographic data about these 110 people, we could look at the analysis, based on, let's say it was 250 people from all around the country. We can say, well, Do their views and perspectives vary by East Coast versus West Coast? Does it vary by city versus rural? Any kind of demographic analysis you can do, but now you have this deliberative data with thoughts and reasoning. It makes it really deep. It also will do statistical analysis, so you can see all these statistically significant effects, and you can look at the actual population of participants. The one other thing I'll just show really quickly is that because we collect all of this information, you can actually go back and watch a full replay. You can just watch the whole conversation over in high speed, for example, 3 times speed by just clicking play, and again, useful for the people who really want to understand the thoughts and perspectives of the group. They can go and they could search. They could say, did people bring up Chernobyl? And then they can just jump to every single place in this 110-person conversation where Chernobyl came up, and understand their perspectives. So, so I mentioned that the previous version was the text version, and we have a video version of Thinkscape that we're going to release in Q4. And so let's say you have a large team, 50 people, you wanted to have a video conference, no way to do that in Zoom and actually have a conversation. And so Thinkscape works the same way. We take these 50 people, we break them up into small groups of 4 or 5, and we put an AI agent into each of those rooms. That's a photorealistic avatar that actually participates in the conversation, looks like a person, but it's not making things up, it's not grabbing things off the internet, it's just expressing ideas that emerged in other think tanks, and that weaves all the conversations together into a single deliberation, and the group can hold a large-scale video conference. And this is what it actually looks like today. That's the animated AI agent that participates in the conversation and weaves them all together. So that's Thinkscape. And now I want to talk about what we did for Internet Library Connect. We did an online session of library professionals. We did this back in September, about a month ago. We had about 20 participants. They spent 40 minutes deliberating a set of questions. So these are the questions. The first question we asked was, what is the biggest challenge to libraries over the next year and why? Second question was, what is the best way for libraries to deal with these challenges and why? Third question was, what are the biggest benefits of using AI in libraries and why? And then the last question was, if a library was gifted $1 million in unrestricted funds, what would be the best thing the money could be used for and why? So let's see what happened. Question 1. So we brought in these 20 people into Thinkscape. They deliberated, and what they came up with was a brainstorm of ideas. And so we can see that the top idea that they came up with was the biggest challenge, adapting to AI and the rapidly changing information landscape. Biggest one. Second biggest challenge was budget cuts. And the third biggest challenge was content restrictions, book bans, efforts to control library offerings. And then there's a whole bunch of others, 10 are listed here. They came up with, over 20 different ideas. But here's a cool thing. Because Thinkscape is watching all these conversations, we can actually look at the relative sentiment that each of these ideas generated as this deliberation happened. And so you can see that actually adapting to AI and the rapidly changing information landscape really wasn't just first place. It was first place by a wide margin. Budget cuts was a second place by a good margin. And then all the rest were pretty similarly low margin. And the other thing is that because we're generating all this content in real time, as soon as the question answers, as soon as the group finishes deliberating, the AI can actually express the full answer to the group. And so here's the AI summary.
After thoughtful deliberation, our collective perspective is that the biggest challenge facing libraries in the upcoming year is the urgent need to adapt to artificial intelligence and the rapidly changing information landscape. Participants highlighted AI's impact on traditional library roles, resources, and services, as well as the need for libraries to compete effectively as technology advances. While some expressed concerns about AI's effect on library relevance and the uncertainty of AI promise, the overall consensus emphasized the necessity for libraries to embrace AI in order to stay relevant in the future and offer competitive value to the public.
That's, again, the high-level summary that comes out instantly as soon as this group finishes their 10 minutes of deliberation. And then there's also the Deliberation Explorer that has all of the low-level insights that can be looked into. Let's look at the second question. Question 2 was, what is the best way for libraries to deal with these challenges and why? And again, this group now deliberated for another 10 minutes, and what they came up with was, again, a whole set of brainstorms. The top answer was, in terms of the best way for libraries to address this challenge, was collaborate with other libraries to source best practices and approaches. Number 2 was adopt AI, but avoid becoming a purveyor of low-quality AI content. And third, provide training on how to best use AI. And again, because this is a deliberation, everybody's sentiments are being assessed. We can look at the relative support. Again, collaborating with other libraries was really a strong first place, and then we saw close support levels for adapting but avoiding low quality content and all the other ideas that came up. And again, we can then look to the AI to just give us the actual verbal summary of the top answer of this deliberation.
After thoughtful deliberation, our collective perspective is that libraries should collaborate with each other to address the challenges of AI. This approach was favored for its potential to yield smart solutions that leverage shared knowledge and learning across many library professionals. Although the group agreed that adopting AI is important, they warned that libraries must not become a purveyor of low-quality or factually questionable content. Libraries must remain a trusted source.
So let's go on to the next question. What are the biggest benefits of using AI in libraries and why? And so again, these people deliberated for 10 minutes and a set of answers came out, and top answer was, of the benefit of using AI, was saving staff time on drafting documents and performing repetitive tasks. Second was automating to streamline library operations. And third was to use AI for just-in-time learning and troubleshooting across library operations, basically helping staff learn using AI. We can look at the sentiments, and here it was pretty evenly distributed. It was pretty close between those top 3 in terms of the benefits, and they're kind of similar. They're about saving time and reducing repetitive tasks and automating versus helping staff learn. And let's look at the summary that came out.
Our collective perspective is that the biggest benefit of using AI in libraries is saving staff time on drafting and repetitive tasks. This was supported by the idea that it enables staff to focus on patrons and frees up time for community engagement. While some members suggested more value in using AI for staff learning, the group emphasized the immediate efficiency gains and enhanced service potential through AI automation.
All right, now let's go to the fourth question. If a library was gifted $1 million in unrestricted funds, what is the best thing the money could be used for and why? Again, 10-minute deliberation, and the group came up with top choice was set up an innovation task force to run AI experiments with community partners and regional partners. That's interesting. It's about trying to figure out how to best use AI. And the second choice was similar. It was build a solid AI lab, also for running experiments to better understand how to use AI to advance the library operations. And third was build outreach programs to bring library services to community events, concerts, festivals, etc. And we look at the sentiment. This was pretty evenly distributed, but the first two were pretty similar. So I would say that by a wide margin, the answer was to build an innovation task force or AI lab to really figure out how to integrate AI into library practice to keep libraries relevant and valuable. And we can look at what the AI came up with when it summarized instantly this conversation of 20 people.
Our collective perspective is that the $1 million gift could be best used to set up an innovation task force and/or an AI lab. The objective would be to experiment with community partners to uncover valuable uses of AI that enable libraries to stay relevant, improve services, engage community members, and make a sustainable tech investment. The group values community involvement and collaboration for broader impact, as well as staying current with technological trends to enhance library services.
So the AI does a better job of summarizing the conversation than I do. So these are the questions that came up. And if anyone's interested, we have the full set of analysis that came out the back end. So to wrap things up, again, power of conversation. If you've got a large group, 20 people, 200 people, 2,000 people, you can poll them, you can survey them, you can ask them to submit an idea. But if you really want to capture their intelligence, conversational deliberation is the best way to do that. It allows us to harness group intelligence. It allows us to see how people react to counterpoints and to see how their opinions evolve as they hear the thoughts of others. This new technology, Hyperchat AI, allows us to do this at scale by text, voice, and video, and that opens up new opportunities. We built this platform, ThinkScape, to use this technology to bring it to groups everywhere. And it allows conversations up to 250 people in real time, but there's no technical barrier that would prevent that from being, thousands of people. And then we applied this to the Library Connect, and we asked about the challenges. What are the big challenges that libraries face? And the interesting, kind of high-level summary is that AI was the biggest risk, or seen as the biggest risk for the future of libraries. But AI was also seen as the biggest opportunity. And so clearly, over the next 12 months, libraries are definitely thinking about and probably focused on how to integrate AI in a way that adds value and doesn't perpetuate the problems. So that's Swarm Intelligence. That's Hyperchat AI technology. Thanks, and I'm happy to take some questions.